What if the reason your anxiety nothing to do with your thoughts, but something your daily life keeps instructing your brain to produce? Think about that for a moment. Not anxiety as a disorder, not anxiety as a personality flaw, but anxiety as a biological response that your environment, your habits, your phone, your schedule, your posture, is quietly ordering your nervous system to generate, day after day, without your permission. Most people spend their energy trying to calm down after anxiety shows up. But very few people ask a more important question. What is my everyday life teaching my brain about how safe I am? Because your nervous system isn't making random mistakes. It's doing exactly what it's been trained to do, and the training is happening constantly, through inputs most people never think to examine. Here's the neuroscience that changes how you see this. Your brain runs what researchers call a predictive model. At any given moment, it isn't just reacting to what's happening, it's anticipating what's likely to happen next, based on patterns it has learned from your body, your behavior, and your environment. And the question it's always asking, at a biological level, beneath your thoughts, is this: based on all available evidence, is this a safe time to relax? If the evidence says yes, your parasympathetic system activates. You feel calm, clear, present. If the evidence says no, or even maybe not, your sympathetic system stays elevated. Not because something is wrong with you, because your brain is doing its job with the information it has. The problem isn't that your brain is broken. The problem is that modern life is sending it the wrong information, and it's doing it quietly, consistently, and in ways that most people never recognize. Consider what a typical morning in America actually looks like for millions of people. The alarm goes off, the phone comes up immediately. Notifications, news, emails, things that need responses. The body hasn't been vertical for more than 30 seconds, and already the brain is processing urgency. The jaw tightens, the shoulders come up. Scrolling continues through breakfast, sometimes through the commute. By the time someone sits down at their desk at 9 a.m., they've already been feeding their nervous system a steady stream of "something requires your attention right now" for over an hour. And then they wonder why they feel on edge by mid-morning, even when nothing has technically gone wrong. That's not anxiety as a condition. That's anxiety as a learned prediction. Your brain has been shown, repeatedly, that mornings are urgent, so it prepares accordingly. And the longer that pattern runs, the more automatic it becomes. This is how a nervous system gets stuck. Not through trauma, not through dramatic events, but through the quiet accumulation of small, repeated signals that all say the same thing: stay ready. Have you ever noticed how different you feel on a slow Saturday morning compared to a Monday? The circumstances of your life haven't changed, but your body's posture toward the day has. That difference isn't random. It reflects what your brain has learned to expect. Now here's what most conversations about anxiety completely miss. It isn't just the big stressors that teach your brain to stay activated. It's the microsignals, the constant noise, the perpetual stimulation, the way you move through your day. Research in behavioral neuroscience suggests that the nervous system reads data not just from dramatic events, but from patterns of sensory input that most of us would never even think to track. How often you check your phone, whether you eat lunch while staring at a screen, the pace at which you walk between meetings, the tightness in your hands while you type. Your brain is reading all of it, all the time, and building a model of what kind of environment you're living in. There's a concept in behavioral science called allostatic load, the cumulative wear on the body and brain from repeated stress responses. Most people think of stress as discrete events, a difficult conversation, a financial scare, a health concern. But the research suggests that low-grade, persistent activation may be more damaging over time than acute stress, precisely because it doesn't trigger a recovery. You never fully get the signal that the threat has passed. And when you never fully get that signal, your baseline shifts. What used to feel like normal now feels like calm. What used to feel manageable now feels heavy. This is why so many high-functioning people who have stable jobs, good relationships, objectively fine lives, still carry a persistent background tension they can't explain. It's not ingratitude, it's not weakness, it's a nervous system that has learned, through years of accumulated signal, that rest is not safe, that stillness is unusual, that something is probably about to need attention. And the most disorienting part? The brain begins to treat that elevated state as normal. So when genuine relaxation occurs, it can feel strange, even uncomfortable. Some people describe it as boredom, others call it guilt. Some feel a vague sense that they're forgetting something important. What they're actually experiencing is the unfamiliarity of a regulated nervous system. They've spent so long in low-grade activation that calm feels like an anomaly. So what actually changes this? Not willpower, not positive thinking, and ironically, not most traditional stress reduction advice, because that advice is typically offered as an addition to your existing life rather than a rearrangement of it. You can do 10 minutes of deep breathing before bed and undo it in the first 2 minutes of the next morning if your first conscious act is to scan your phone for problems. What changes this is learning to read your daily environment the way your nervous system reads it, as a collection of signals, and then intentionally redesigning those signals. Not dramatically, not with a life overhaul, but precisely. Think of it like adjusting the inputs into a system that's been miscalibrated. You don't need to rebuild the system, you need to change what's going in. One place to start is with what researchers sometimes call transition moments, the brief windows between activities that most people fill with stimulation, the few minutes between finishing a task and starting the next one, the commute, the time after putting the kids to bed. These are moments where the nervous system has a natural opening to begin de-escalating. But most people fill them immediately with content, noise, or mental planning. And in doing so, they keep the activation running. Something as simple as leaving those windows genuinely empty, no input, no entertainment, no productivity, can begin shifting what your nervous system learns to expect from the day. Another signal worth examining is physical pace, not exercise pace, ordinary movement pace. How quickly do you walk from your car to your office? How fast do you eat? How abruptly do you move from one task to the next? Your brain is monitoring all of it, and speed is one of the most reliable signals of perceived threat in the mammalian nervous system. When organisms are in danger, they move fast. When they're safe, they move slowly and deliberately. You can use this in reverse. Deliberately slowing a single action, not as a meditation technique, but as a signal, tells your nervous system that the environment is safe enough to not be hurrying. The body updates. And the update is faster than most people expect. Perhaps most importantly, the relationship between the brain and the body needs to be understood as bidirectional. We've been taught to think that mental states cause physical states, that anxiety makes you tense, not that tension maintains anxiety. But the evidence increasingly suggests the relationship runs both ways. Your body is constantly reporting to your brain, the tightness in your shoulders, the shallowness of your breathing, the bracing in your hands. These aren't just symptoms, they're inputs. They're part of what your brain uses to calculate its current threat assessment. This means that changing your body's baseline posture towards safety isn't just about feeling more relaxed in the moment. It's about gradually recalibrating what your brain considers normal. When your body consistently sends low-urgency signals, slow breath, soft face, unhurried movement, deliberate rather than reactive attention, your brain updates its prediction model. It begins to expect a lower threat environment, and over time, the baseline shifts. Not through insight, not through mindset, through evidence that is physical, repeated, and consistent. This is not a quick fix. Your nervous system didn't learn its current baseline overnight, and it won't relearn it overnight either. But the change doesn't require dramatic intervention. It requires attention to the small signals your body and environment are sending to your brain, hour by hour, day by day, and a willingness to redesign them, quietly and precisely, toward what safety actually feels like. The question worth sitting with is this: if your brain is learning from everything in your daily life, what has it been learning about you?